Think he's gorgeous. Think he's absolutely gorgeous. Think he's got the although he's fair. Shirley Eaton became famous overnight as the Golden Girl in 1964. 5 years later she vanished from Hollywood forever. She was only 32 years old. Studios offered her huge contracts. She turned them all down. People started whispering about what really happened. Some believed she died from the gold paint. Others thought she was hiding a terrible secret. The truth was darker than anyone imagined. What made a rising star walk away from millions? The answer reveals Hollywood's cruelest side. Shirley finally told her story decades later. Shirley Jean Eaton was born on January 12, 1937 at Edgware General Hospital in Middlesex. She grew up in Kingsbury, a quiet part of northwest London. As a little girl she went to Row Green Primary School. But her life started changing fast when she got into the Ada Foster Theatre School. It wasn't a normal school. It trained young kids to act, sing, and move like professionals. While others studied math or science, Shirley learned how to walk with grace, speak clearly, and hold the spotlight. She stayed there until she was 16. Every day was strict, full of rehearsals and discipline, but it shaped her. It gave her focus, direction, and something to believe in. Her first moment on stage came when she was just 12. She performed in Benjamin Britten's Let's Make an Opera in 1949, long before most kids even think about careers. A year later in 1950 she appeared on the BBC show for the children, which tied back to the same opera. By the time she was 13 she was already balancing real work with her training. In 1951 she landed a role named in Pebble in a 6-episode series called Parent Craft. While most teens were still daydreaming about their future, Shirley was already living hers. In 1953, at just 16, she stepped into the world of theater with a bold heart. She had her West End debut in a play called Going to Town. She was making only $5 a week, barely enough to cover her train fare. Sometimes she skipped meals and walked long distances just to make it to rehearsals. The pressure was real. She was still a teenager, but producers were already trying to push her into glamorous roles. Some of them hinted at things no girl her age should have to face. But Shirley didn't give up. She stood her ground and kept working. By 1954, she was performing late-night variety shows, sometimes staying on her feet until midnight. She once nearly collapsed from exhaustion. The industry didn't care how young you were. You either made it or you disappeared. That same year, 1954, things got bigger. At 17 she signed with the Rank Organization, one of the most powerful film studios in Britain. On the outside it looked like a dream come true. They trained her in everything: speech, posture, how to walk into a room like a star, but behind closed doors it was cruel. She was pushed into glamour photos that made her deeply uncomfortable. Studio bosses didn't care. If she refused, they threatened to cancel her contract. One photo shoot in 1955 lasted 10 hours. She left crying. She once told a friend she felt like a piece of meat. She wasn't alone. Other actresses like Diana Dors faced the same thing. Shirley stayed quiet and kept going, hoping better roles would come. Her first real movie was 3 Men in a Boat in 1956. She played Sophie Clutterbuck, a charming young woman who brought humor and brightness to the screen. People loved her, but she made only $100 while the men she acted with earned thousands. That's how it was in those days. Few were a woman, your talent came second. She still gave it her all. In 1957 she starred in Doctor at Large with Dirk Bogarde. She played a nurse named Nan in a funny hospital story. During filming, a fake explosion went wrong. Shirley lost her hearing for a short time. There was no safety gear. No one warned her. That was the risk. But she didn't complain. She kept filming. Her rise continued. In 1956 she starred in a wild comedy called Sailor Beware where she played a young woman tangled in a chaotic wedding story. It made people laugh, but the role trapped her in the image of a dumb blonde. She turned down over a dozen scripts in the next 2 years because she didn't want to be treated like decoration. Some roles even paid less just because she was blonde. She knew what that meant, but she kept saying no even if it hurt her career. In 1957 she acted in Date with Disaster, a low-budget crime film. She played the girlfriend of a car salesman caught in a heist. The role demanded real stunts and she had to do them herself. During one chase scene a car flipped. Shirley was inside. She got bruised ribs and had to be hospitalized. There were no medics on set, no insurance, just pain and fear. But she came back and finished the movie. In 1958, she was cast in Further Up the Creek, another comedy. This time she worked alongside Peter Sears. The film was silly and fun, but what happened off camera was not. Producer told her she could get better parts if she did certain favors. She was disgusted. She refused and risked being blacklisted. Peter Sears later defended her in his memoirs, writing about how common this behavior was. That moment stayed with her. It was one of many reasons she started thinking about leaving the spotlight. But before all that she had also worked in radio. In 1956 she joined the BBC's Mrs. Dale's Diary, one of the most popular shows of the time. Her first live performance was a disaster. She froze for 10 full seconds. Millions of people were listening. Letters poured in making fun of her mistake. But she didn't quit. She went back, trained harder, learned to control her voice, and soon became a regular. The same year she almost represented the UK in the Eurovision Song Contest. Her confidence was growing again. In 1955 she had also toured across the UK in a musical called The Pajama Game. She was only 18, performing 200 shows in 50 different cities. She barely slept. She lived off cheap sandwiches. Once in Manchester she fell during a performance. A faulty ladder sent her crashing to the ground. She needed 8 stitches in her knee, but instead of resting she took painkillers and went back on stage. All these moments added up. From a child on a London stage in 1949 to a star battling injustice in 1958, Shirley Eaton lived through the glamour and the dark side of show business. She had talent, courage, and a quiet fire that refused to go out. Shirley Eaton's rise in British cinema wasn't smooth or glamorous behind the scenes. When she joined the Carry On series in 1959 with Carry On Nurse, she had no idea it would become the UK's highest grossing film that year. Over 10 million people watched it, and it even made more than $2 million in the United States. But behind that success was a hard reality. The budget was only $71,000. Filming lasted from November 3 to December 12, 1958, and days ran 12 hours long with no overtime. Despite the huge profits, Shirley was paid a flat fee and got no share of the earnings. She later spoke about how exhausted she felt and how little care was given to the actors, even though her role as Nurse Dorothy Denton made her a household name. Just a year later, in 1960, she appeared in Carry On Constable as Sally Berry. One scene took an unexpected turn when her skirt tore open during a chase, revealing more than planned. The director decided to leave the scene in the final